Alrighty, GDP numbers come out. This is Doc from North America, waiting first read of the first quarter GDP. And good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Remember, it's 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time here in the States. It's 10:30 p.m. in Tokyo, so it just shows you the two money centers and in between. I guess they did move the Philadelphia, Baltimore, Washington exchange to Hawaii, so I guess I could include that when trying to look at the world. But just in general, I'd rather go to the Tokyo exchange in description, and then from there, everybody else is open at this point, having fun. We're all having fun. All right, let's trade them. Watch them trade. All right, this is Doc saying, here it is. 1.1 actual versus an estimated 2.0. Doing good, Jed. They're knocking it down. Good. Whoop-de-doo. First quarter GDP advance read 1.1 versus a projection of 2.0. So it's down a little bit. So I'd imagine that would... Let's see what the stock market's doing off of that. Nothing particular. So the estimated it's almost half of what they estimated, but it doesn't seem to have any effect on the markets itself. You can see this. This is the S&P 500 right here. You can see it. Matter of fact, if we go to the very short term, they said, meh, and they sold it down. So they're not worried about, I guess, what does that do? I guess let's take a look at the 30-year bond. What is that doing to the 30-year bond? Is it going up? Is it going down? It's been in a daily buy for a couple of days now. 2, 3, 4, 5, and it's pushing it down as we speak here. Still in the buy by the hair of its chinny chin. The weekly is very close. Oh, you can't see any of that. Oh, darn. Oh, and you know what? I just realized I don't even have the chat line up either. So let's get that chat line up so someone can say something to me like, take that tinfoil off that head. Something basic, Heading there now to the chat line. I get excited with the news. Continued jobless claims. A lot of numbers going in a lot of directions there. 230,000 actual, looking for 248,000. Really hasn't had any effect at all on the stock market. And you can see right there that the bond market is moving down, so interest rates are rising a little bit, just a little bit. And then we'll go back to the stock market, and you'll see that was when the news came out. It fell, and now it's pretty much right. It made a lower low, then failed, and now it's a higher low and a higher high. And our math is turned back into the buy right here. Remember, red and greens don't mean anything except for volatility when it comes to that on an intraday basis. So you can see here there's pressure on it. We're only 135, 70, 52, 20. Here comes the next bar. There it is. So it's pressing back down. This closed in a little sell here. See what kind of weakness. Maybe it'll bring it down to this bottom line right there. We'll see how they play. And so, oh, there you go. They got Art Laffer on now. There's no growth. He's basically saying, confirming. That's what Mr. Biden wants. They don't want growth. Growth means opposition, I guess. I don't know. Hey, Robin! Metho super. What's that? That theater, 2000 something theater, or better known as Metho. Metho. Looks like they're trying to give you opportunity to buy, aren't they? I can't believe that the nat gas is doing its rollover thing. It's like, whoa. I'm a little surprised on that. Just when I think it's going to get, the nat gas is going to try to get going. It doesn't. Usually dailies can lead to weeklies. In this case here, that poor natural gas refuses to jump. Yo, yo, yo. Britpop. I like that. Britpop. Let's see. Let me lower the volume here on the analysis of everything. I guess what it comes down to is no growth. That's what it comes down to. The growth is dragging down, being dragged down. And there's so much cash. There's $5 trillion on the sidelines. So it's pretty hard to crush a market when you have $5 trillion sitting on the sidelines. I know that Goldman was out talking about it for like the last, I don't know, 4 or 5 days, something about that. And JPM, is doing the same thing. They're talking about, there's going to be 238 billion sold. I guess, rollovers or something are going to be sold and moved into bonds. Yeah, but you have 5 trillion. See, billion doesn't even mean anything when they talk about it anymore. Billions are blah, blah, kind of blah. Not too exciting anymore, billions. It's the trillions now to keep everybody rocking. All right, so now let's get back to the dollar index and see what Mr. and Mrs. Dollar Index are doing. We'll throw it up on Chicago Quant right here. Over here. Over there. The Yanks are coming. There it is right there. And how about that President Aragon? He's saying like, Jameer. I hope I'm saying it right. Hey, Jameer, how you doing? The President Aragon was having problems. Robin was firing stuff back and forth to me last night about that. But it doesn't sound like it's going to be that much of a problem. But we'll see. He could take the basement strategy that Biden has. So that usually works when you do voter harvesting. When you're very good at voter harvesting, who needs any stupid campaigns? Just get out there and voter harvest. All right there, that's that buy for the last couple of days. Let's just put that there and the green line in. But you can see the product itself is not going anywhere. Yes, voter harvesting is the bomb. That is the bomb. That's where it's at. All right, so from there you see dollar index here, same situation, lots of red, and over here you see some red. It went into the sell. Was that the sell there? I guess it was. Yeah, it went into the sell there, and then it went back into the buy here, I guess, and then it's still in the buy, and it's still in the buy right there. It's not really doing anything. It can't get budging. It can't get moving. It's stuck. And I guess tomorrow we have one more big number, and that will be the core rate, which I think someone referred to as sticky. The inflation core rate comes out tomorrow. That's the one that the Fed supposedly watches every month. So that's going to be the next thing. Now, they know what it is. And pretty much most of the analysts know what it is. So, it's the classic, buy on rumor, sell on news. Let's see. Jameer says, great. Turkey is the best funny part of my day usually. Is it? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So it's like we follow the Turkish lira here, and President. I always like to call him Prime Minister / President Aragon, since he was both at one time. Or no, he was Prime Minister first, then President, and then I think of Harry Potter and the Spider Aragon. So I always think of it that way. I'm a Harry Potter fan. So. What else can we say about the dollar? It's just pretty much stuck in the mud. It's not going anywhere. That par is definitely a big support. It won't let go. Let's see. Oh, here we go. What we got there? Marazoo. I'm very new to Duke and 4x4. Just a question. Sure. If I can answer it, I will. In 4x4, is there a possibility to trade other instruments other than 4x and XAU? Oh, yes. They have stocks on there. They have binaries on there. They have futures on there. They trade soybeans. What else do they have? They got a bunch of stuff. Bonds, copper, gold, palladium, natural gas, a cavalcade of, just enormous amounts of stocks all over the place from around the world. I think volatility too, right? Yeah. I think they have a volatility index. You can trade the volatility too. Bonds, yeah. Lots of good stuff. Yeah, definitely. Their markets are as fair as everybody else's. Sometimes a little bit tighter, sometimes a little wider. They're just as good as everybody else. It's the electric. It's the cyber age. So we get lots of good execution. Lots of good execution everywhere nowadays, especially the electronic stuff. All right, so from the dollar index, and I'm not even giving a riff today. That's because we had all those, I'm not giving you my, I didn't see anything odd when it comes to stories jumping out going, geez, Doc, you're right again, or geez, Doc, you're wrong. So there's nothing really to ramble about at the moment. So from here, we'll go over to the euro. But if anybody out there wants to see something, just put it up on the chat line. No matter what product. Yes, I have seen the Indian 50, the Nifty 50. I've seen that on there. Once in a while, someone asks us to take a look at that. Yep, that's on there too. Let's see. Let's go over to. Where are we going over to? We're going to go to the euro. We do about 8 or 9 currencies on this webinar, and then we go into the gold, we go into the metals, and then we go look at the energies, and then from there we look at the stock indices and the cryptos. That's our combination usually here. That's what we do. But you can always interrupt and choose something to look at, and we'll go look at it. We never know where a new product or something we haven't been looking at could be a great trade. You never know. So I'm always willing to hear or listen to almost anything. Basically anything. There are no stupid questions in trading and money. There are only long answers or short answers. That's what we fly by around here. All right, now there's the euro. You can see the euro trying up on J4X. You can see it's still firm, sideways firm. I guess that's the best way to describe it. Over on Chicago Quant, we'll put it in there at the same time. Not there. Nothing up my sleeve. Right there. And let's put the euro there. And you can see there, just off a little bit for the day, nothing major. Weekly is very strong. Daily is pressing. We've got a red and a green. That's usually a sign of some volatility, that will, a change of direction or an increase of amplitude type of thing going on there. And you can see over here on J4X, we've got the green line breaking down, telling us again there might be some weakness trying to come in. I don't really think there's that much weakness left around for the currencies. The currencies seem to be slow, steady, and consistent when it comes what they refer to as the major currencies. We saw that 11-12% swing in the Swiss franc, and now it's back to normal again. So the yen, same thing. It had about a 20% move. Actually, it was almost a 20% move, 22% move, I think it is. It's come back down a little bit. It's having its issues at the moment, but overall, the currencies are really in a strangle or some type of channel or envelope or however you want to describe it, but they're more of a sideways chop range. They're range bound. I think that's the way people like to describe it. Range bound. All right. Now, from there, we slide over to British pound. There it is right there. See, British pound, I think, did it slide back into the buy last night? Or is it back in the sell? We'll see in a few seconds here. We'll put it up over here at the same time. Yeah, it closed in the buy last night, back into the sell again today, or trying to, with a volatility signal of a green and a red. Over here on J4X, you can see basically we are still in the green. A red will be probably coming in a few hours, and the line has broken the last couple of days. So it's telling us that there's no, as we like to say on the old trading floors, no conviction. There's no conviction to want to do anything, really. No one has a hunger, a desire to do anything at the moment. It's just chopping around. It's almost like in some ways sell in May and go away. In this case here, it might just go to sleep more than anything else. This summer could be an interesting, like, sell out of the money calls, spreads in options. Binaries, sell binaries underneath, sell binaries up top, and just watch the decay. That might be the answer to a lot of it this year, this summer season. All right, now from there, let's see where we at from there. From there, we slide over to, where is that? Right there. We'll go to the Swiss. Right there. There's the Swiss. And we'll put it up over here. And there's the Swiss right there. You see it's been in that interesting slide steadily down. We've been in a weekly sell since here. That's what that pink line represents. The slow went into the buy for that wild pop and then went right back into the sell again. You can see the daily went into a sell there, then back into the buy, and then back into its sell. You only take the sells when it's in a weekly sell. You can see the fast has been in that weekly sell since here and has not been able to get through the zero line. So it's been telling us over and over, if you're long, you'll be wrong. And that's, you can see our daily sell signals versus the weekly trend has been winner, winner, chicken dinners. So that's the overall. And I think that this thing, the Swiss franc is probably going to park itself in the high 80s. That's about it. I think it's going to, in other words, it's not going to have like, it ran to like 101 and now it's fallen back to 90. Here you see it's trading at 89.65. And, more than likely it's not going to go to 80. It'd probably go to like 86 and change or 87 and change or, something like that, or 88. Hang out in those areas more than, I don't think it's going to break through the 85. I'll be surprised. But you know what? We follow the math. That's the prime objective here always, and that is follow the math. So opinion is opinion, but math is so much more true. And so, we follow the truth more than we follow the opinion around here. But it's always nice to know what the story is. All right. From there, we go over to the other side of the world. We go to the Japanese yen. And there's the yen right there. And like I said, that's kind of got into the high 20s. We thought it would get back to 25. It did not. It fell back to about 28, I think it was 29. There's the low right there in February. 28, low 28s, something like that. Yeah, low 28s, almost 27 and change. So that's been the classic with this product. We've been in the weekly sell since here. The fast moving broke into the weekly sell here. It hasn't been good, hasn't been bad. It's just been ugly, just sideways, trapped. We put a trend line in here. We were really surprised. We thought that when we thought back, way back here, we thought that, it was going to go back into the 25s from the 50s area, especially when it went into that weekly sell up in here. And then that's the close of the week. We put the signal in itself. And, it didn't. And it's kind of a little odd. It seemed like, and we mention this all the time for those that are new here, is that, the dollar yen pairs trade and the dollar Swiss pairs trade were not mirror images. They were lockstep together. They were trading identical constantly, and it must have been for banking reasons. In other words, when Credit Suisse had its problem, obviously there might have been a lot of Japanese money in there and so forth, and that put pressure on it. Now that it's all over with, then the Swiss and the yen fell together, but then the yen seems to have bottomed into that 27-ish area. And as you can see with that big long green line there, right there. And so it seemed to follow that trend. Whereas the Swiss, we'll go back to the Swiss real quick. The Swiss has not really cared. It seems to, whatever issues Switzerland had, it's over with. At least for now, that's for sure. Whereas in the yen, still not happy. And you can see here we've been in the daily sell for a couple of days, but it's just not. Actually, the daily sell was right there. Let's move that over. The daily sell was right there. And then it tried to pop up a little bit, and it's been in that sell for a bunch of days, and it's not really going anywhere. It's trapped in the low 30s compared to the high 20s. And I thought it would get back to, say, if it was matching up with the Swiss, it would probably gotten back to like 23 or 24, 25. 1.25, say, on average. But instead, it got to 127 instead, 1.27, and it seemed to bottom out of that. And so there's obviously other issues going on that we're not privy to at the moment. And, Bank of Japan is very open in a lot of stuff they do. So it's really usually not too much of an economic surprise. But, they're going through something right now still. I don't expect to see it take out the 150s. That was a 40-plus year high. I don't expect to see that at all. And so, I'd imagine it's probably going to create like a giant flag or something like that. That's what I'm thinking. Over the next year, we'll probably see that'll be one side of it. This will be the other side of it right here. They may not challenge the highs of the 137 unless obviously some new news comes out. But I would say that's the best way to look at it at this point. At least that's the way I look at it. But again, we follow the math, and you can see there we're in a weekly buy now for a second week, and that's what that green line represents right there. So it is what it is. And we get closer view. You see it's just kind of stumbling around with no opinions. In a weekly buy, daily sell pushes you into a neutral position more than anything else. Let's drive ourselves over to the star of the day, and that is the Turkish lira. Right there it is. Euro Turkish lira, trying to move down a little bit. Last night when we heard the news, first thing I did is I went to the currencies. Robin was texting me saying, hey, check this out. Aragon's in the hospital. He might be on his deathbed. All this stuff. And so, and the family showing up. All that neat stuff that occurs, or not neat, but I mean, all those events that occur when someone close to you ends up in a hospital. So, it hasn't had much of an effect on the currency. I mean, I would imagine, just a wild guess, if he passed, there's a good chance this currency would go flying against the dollar. It could go down to 18 or 17 out of nowhere. Wouldn't surprise me at all, depending on who's in. I don't even know who's in line for the job, but I know that the local elections, the president Aragon has not been winning. Only the national election he's been winning. So, that could mean from a currency that's gone from $1 to $21. You would assume there's some room in there for it to be, back and filled, that type of thing. I mean, these are all-time highs you're looking at. That's what this thing does, is hang out at the all-time highs and then go and make new ones. All right, so that's it there. Let's show you the same over on J4X. Right there. And you see trading into 21s. So it's not exactly like, it's at all-time highs. And there's not much more you can really say about that fact. And it's just under President Aragon and then former Prime Minister Aragon, these policies of devaluing the currency have, usually a country will devalue their currency trying to get better economic activity. In other words, it's cheaper for foreign investment to come in. In this case here, I'm not really sure if it has worked. All right, now from there, and let me just throw this out there too. They found, 250 billion cubic feet of natural gas in the Black Sea, and it didn't really have an effect on the currency, which really surprised me. So money is kind of doing that Missouri thing. It wants to see it, not be told that it's going to happen, but actually see it happen physically. All right, from there, we go over to what we call nowadays here the King Peso, because it's becoming a possible major player inside the BRICS. There's talk of it joining the BRICS. That's a group of currencies trying to build a BRIC index to be the alternative to the dollar index type of thing, be a more tradable product than what they have as individual countries, that type of thing. I think someone said they have 19 countries now. And the Mexican peso was considering joining in on that. That's what that big circle is right there. They made the announcement right there. When this is rising, it's losing against the dollar, and when it's dropping, it's gaining against the dollar. So they made the announcement that they might join the BRICS, and they took the currency from 17 and change up to 19 and change in a matter of 3 days. So then I didn't hear much more after that. They didn't talk about when they're going to be in the BRICS. But we're going to pay attention to the peso now as if it's in the BRICS. And the reason why is we tell everybody now pretty much every day is that the peso will be what the euro is to the dollar index. In other words, it'll be the bulk. It'll be the big dog in the house. and it will be the thing that swings that index. It'll probably make up almost 50% of that index, and then the South African rand will probably be like 18 to 20 some odd percent of it, and then from there the Indian rupee will probably be the third strongest one, and then the other currencies in there that they talk about will be almost nothing. So something like 70-80% of the index will be just those three stocks. I don't see how they can do it any other way, but who knows? We'll see. And I doubt gold will be a part of it because I can't imagine the exercise things there. So as much as they say it will be, I don't believe it. I just believe that they'll just be doing their fantasies as usual. All right. From there, from King Peso, we go over to where do we go over to? We go to Canadian dollar. Okay, that's part of the dollar index, and it represents about, I think it's like 8% of the dollar index. And I think the currency that will not be named, the ruble, could take that position. I think it could take be 6% or 8% of the index. That would not surprise me. So that would put it up into the 88 area, maybe even more, like 90% of the four currencies would be that. And then whatever all the rest of the currencies, the Brazilian real and the Chinese renminbi, yuan, and whoever else is part of that 19 would be in they would fill in the last 8% of the whole index. All the the 16 other currencies would probably fill it in. Be something like that. That's just a wild guess. Still got to see them do it. I'm not really. I mean, they talk about it. I'm not totally convinced it'll happen, but we'll see. Hey, competition is usually good. It's usually the good thing right there. Until it's not. Until you lose. All right. From the Canadian, what we do is we slide over to the oil contract, and we take a look at oil. And we'll take a look at West Texas Intermediate right there. And as you can see, it's been sliding down overall in its trend. And you can see here, Canadian has been sliding up in its trend. You can see here, we talked about this yesterday, where we'll probably try to get through there again. Get it done. Yes, indeed. It looks like it's trying to today. And you can see here, the oil is just sitting sideways up a little bit. And then when we throw Canadian in over here, where's Mr. Mouse? There's Mr. Mouse. And when we put Canadian in here, right there, you see it's kind of stalled out, but it's been in that drive up. Remember, as it goes up, it's losing against the dollar. And obviously oil, we'll put oil over here. There's West Texas Intermediate. Right there, light crude. And you'll see the overall trend has been on the daily to the downside. With its bumps and wiggles and twists and turns, but overall on the downside. It's coming. It's coming. It be jumping. Is that gas? No, I didn't want gas. I wanted right there. There we are. It be coming. Come on. You can do that. And as you can see there, trading at 74 and change. 74.55 is basically the area. And what is that over there? Oh, that's CAD. That's right. So that's CAD. And come on, oil. It'll show up in a few seconds here. There it is. You can see its overall trend is down, just as this trend is up. And then what we do is we go to the last of the currencies that we look at today, unless you out there want to see something. Let's see. Jamar says, Doc, why do you think OPEC doesn't do own currency? Well, Saudi Arabia has a currency. Dubai, I'm sure, has a currency. I think Iraq has a currency. They have individual currencies. It's just that I can tell you one. I don't think it. I know it, and that is usually the volume. In other words, the dollar has trillions every day moving through it. Trillions, okay, not just billions, but trillions. So, you move $10 billion or $20 billion in dollars, and you don't really feel it. You don't see like a distortion. Too thin. It's basically, I'm making it even more complicated than it needs to be. The dollar is very liquid, and pretty much other countries' currencies are not as liquid. That's what it comes down to. They can't handle, 50 billion moved in a matter of minutes or seconds. They just can't even handle that. And so because of that, that's the reason right there. So, that's why the BRICS are trying to put themselves together, is that if they could have that, that's how I decided, how I was figuring how they could create a BRIC, especially when peso came out. Before peso, the Mexican peso came into it, the South African rand would have been the one that plays the euro position. It would show you how weak it is, that the South African rand would be the bulwark. I know that they talk about the BRICS. This is a currency conversation, not an anti or pro BRIC. But they talk about the BRICS like as if they have the ability to compensate if they just put enough of the countries together against the dollar. And they don't. Unfortunately, you could take all the countries that they've talked about so far and the BRICS, especially the ones that were named after BRICS that represents Brazil, right? That's the Brazilian real. You can't even get a trade in it. There's not even a quote in the product. They can't even show you on J4X, and they're a full Forex brokerage house. They can't get you a quote in the real. Okay. Second one, Russia. Okay. The currency is trading at 77 or 78 now. Okay. It's basically blacklisted because of them basically firing weapons into Central Europe every day. So then you go to the next one. What is it? BRI. I is the Indian rupee. Indian rupee would out of the three we just mentioned would be a number 2. Okay. And the South African rand would be number 1 out of that BRICS. Okay. The C is China. They don't even have a currency. They have a unit, the renminbi. It's locked to the dollar, and it's controlled by the People's Bank of China. So it trades about 2.5% in the whole world every day. That's about it. It's not a very active product. So then the last one would be South African, as we said before. That would have been the pillar of it all. Hell, matter of fact, they should name it something else. In other words, it should be. They should put the letters in order to the strength of the currencies that they're putting in there. Now, there's supposedly now 19. When they came out and said the Mexican peso was possibly, the president of Mexico came out and said, hey, I think we'll get involved with the BRICS. The currency would be the giant out of all those currencies. You can move a billion here or a billion there inside of it with no problem and not interfere with the product. Okay, it's very liquid, for a currency. Obviously, it's not in the dollar index. It's not as big as the European Union or the European unit itself. The euro is the second most actively traded currency in the world. The European Union is the second largest economy in the world. Okay, so there's more spin and deception and platitudes and whatever else you want to call it, tricks and wishes and hopes, than there is facts. And that's why now that we have a more understanding of it, we talk about it and we look at it, in a logical way in case it actually happens. I don't really know if it's going to happen, but it's something. So it fits your question. Why isn't there like an oil, like a oil currency? And there is. It's the dollar, unfortunately. The start to don't like dollar from Nixon. Want to backed by gold. It was only backed by gold. Look, we've used gold back things for a long time, but Bretton Woods was only like 30 years old. It's not like they were doing it for 300 years. Matter of fact, the British pound was the world reserve currency up until 1919, and then the dollar became the world reserve currency. And then they created Bretton Woods after World War II, which is in the 40s, and it ended in the 60s. So it was only for 20 some odd years. People act and talk like as if it's been around for hundreds of years. So, and then Nixon. The reason why Nixon changed Bretton Woods is we were allowing, if you had dollars, you could exercise those dollars with our treasury for gold. So you could interchange dollar for gold, and they had a limit. And when it reached a certain limit, they decided to stop doing that. And when Charles de Gaulle, as president of France, decided to exercise $4 billion, which was a lot of money back then in the 60s, into gold, before he made the official announcement, they broke Bretton Woods up. And that's how that all plays out. Because Saudis like Norway investing a lot of money, so for them... Oh, no, wait a minute. I say the dollar, and they made currency backed by pure oil. You don't get it. Well, the reason they can't is because they don't have the liquidity. I don't think that they would want the Chinese yuan to exercise oil, because then, like, China would just, make the yuan 4 to the dollar instead of 7, and then there's no way in the world the Saudis are going to give them a 30 or 40% discount on oil, whereas the dollar is stable. So that's the answer to it all there. Now Jamar says, second thing, which I don't get, is why China have so much dollars. It's because China is a colony of the United States. It's a colony. And so they're our second largest, they're our largest trading partner. We did over $500 billion of trading with them last year. And we got like 180 billion in our direction, and they got like 200 and it was like, I guess it was like a little under. So it must have been like, we got like 227 billion, and they got something like 300 and some odd billion, or it's something. I know that the net came out about 280 billion, 280 billion to them. And we have lots of factories there, and they have slave labor, and they do all those things and make things cheap. So that's the reason. Now we're fighting with the political party that wants to keep on using slave labor. We're against it on one side, and so it's coming to an end. But the president now, he's into the slave labor thing, so that's why it's that we do so much business with them. Okay, so let's see, and then you have a second question. Okay, I say, Norway inventing. Okay, so then you said, okay, so liquidity. Okay, thanks for that answer. Yep, because Sauds like Norway invest a lot of money, and for them is the dollar just to invest things. Yeah, because it's stable, and they can move lots of volume through it. When you have X amount. And then Jamar says, second thing is second thing. Which I don't get is why China have so much. Oh, I answered that one right. They're like a colony of America. The buying mines, but still have loot of dollars. Why you think have it? Why don't spend them immediately to buy? They keep those. They keep like Japan has the large. Here, let's take a look at who owns American debt. Okay, in other words, all those bonds that we have floating around. Well, 45% of it, almost half of it, is Americans own it. Okay, we own it ourselves. Then there's a slice after that the Federal Reserve owns maybe 10 or 15% of it too, and it's quasi attitude of it independent. Then from there, the third largest holder is Japan. They have about 1.1 trillion in U.S. bonds. Then the fourth largest holder is China. They have a little under a trillion, like 900 and something, 970 or something like that, billion in American debt. And then it goes down the line. Like Germany has X amount, Britain has X amount. They kind of fill in another slice of it, that type of thing. So it's an odd creature. The whole thing is an odd creature when you try to describe it, because it's very complicated in the sense of it's so obvious it's complicated. That's what it comes down to. It's just debits and credits in the end, liabilities, who owns the most. Then and so in other words, China leaves money here because they don't have anywhere else they can put it. If they could put it somewhere else, they would put it somewhere else. They're always trying to buy gold, but it's very hard to get physical gold. You can't buy just $1 trillion worth of gold without taking it to the moon. So that, and then imagine if they bought $1 trillion worth of gold, then they wouldn't have any money to back it up, and the shorts who sold it to them would drive the price down, and they would lose all their equity. So it's easier for them to just keep it in dollars and in U.S. bonds. This way, they don't have the risk of getting in or out, or being able to see enormous devaluations, that type of thing. I hope that made all sense to you. All right, from there we go to, where do we go to? Oh, now what did I just do there? How did that do that? That belongs up there. It's there somewhere. There it is. Get back in there. All right, so then from there we go over to, where do we go over to? We go over to the South African Rand. And there's the South African Rand, which we think should be in the 14s. But ever since the political chaos that's been going on down there in December, that's why those lines are there. It's kind of changed the course of it. So in other words, right now it should be in the 14s relative to gold. But ever since the chaos, gold has become the opposite side of it. Let me just go like that again there. Okay, so then gold over here. Let's put gold into that. Where's gold? Right there. So gold overall has been going sideways, and the South African Rand has been moving up. And it's not normally when gold goes up in value, usually the Rand gains in value, and by gaining in value, it means it goes down to like 14 to the dollar compared to 18 to the dollar. And right now we're not seeing that. So you can see here, gold overall has been kind of sideways, but the overall trend is up like that, going back to March. And there is March right there. And you can see the South African Rand is, and when we go all the way back to January, you can see that there's been a distortion in it now. And that's the corner there where the political problem occurred in what's it called, South Africa. The president was found with $500,000 of cash, to be exact, $520,000 of cash hiding underneath the sofa cushion. So something's going on there, and they thought he was going to resign, but he said, nah, no reason to. I just don't get why they don't spend it immediately on factories and mines in other countries. Who? China? They wouldn't have a cushion. They need a cushion. They have to have something in reserve. They have to protect themselves. Remember, their currency, they have no real currency per se. Okay? So, I don't know if you remember long-term capital management in 94, 95 when the ruble was trading at 4, and they were doing arbitrage between Russian bonds and other bonds, and then all of a sudden the ruble was trading at 13, and there was a collapse in the financial system, a small one, but a collapse, and that's what the problem is that the yuan is trading in the 7s right now, or 7 or something like that, and it could be 21 one day out of nowhere. So the last thing they want to do is trap their money to get crushed. They'd rather have it sitting in something that's going to stay pretty stable. That's what it comes down to. And so they don't really, if you've noticed, every investment in properties and so forth are all trapped in China. You can't get your money out so easily. And so, matter of fact, they, like Evergreen, the largest real estate company in China, defaulted. And it only took $6 billion to get it back and up and running, but they chose to let it default instead. And so companies are, the default side outside of China, but they propped up the Evergreen or Evergrande in China. So that didn't default. But the ones outside, they don't move their money outside so freely. They don't want to lose it, A. And B, they're just not that sophisticated. They just aren't. They're communists, so they're not really geared towards investing to begin with. They're more into the slave thing. That's their gig. All right. I hope I answered all that. It should make sense. At least I think it makes sense. So, all right. From there, that's the end of the currencies. So what we'll do now is, unless you have a currency you want to look at, we'll go on to the energy. No, in this case here, we'll look at gold and silver and copper and platinum and stuff like that. So we go over to here, and we slide into gold, which you saw before. That's crude. So you see gold right there, and that's natural gas. We're doing good here, aren't we? There it is. And so there's gold. It's been kind of dead, not really, went into the buy yesterday. It's trying to go back down again. It failed at making a new high. It got up there but failed, and now it's kind of trying to roll over. It's been in that long weekly buy since the low 18s. You can see that right there. What else can we say about it all? I guess that's about it. Let's go to the silver. Here is July silver now. That's the front month. You can see same situation, kind of just choking. It's been in daily sell for about 4 or 5 days. This is the 6th day now. Still in the weekly buy since the 22 area. Got up to 26 and change, and now it's kind of slowly drifting in the 25s at the bottom end of that range. Well, we'll see what that does now over the next couple of days and weeks. Again, that's very interest sensitive, the metals. So what happens in the end is that as interests go up or down, that usually has a big influence. The cryptos seem to be the better product when it comes to like the inflation and panic type stuff. So then from there we go over to copper, and we're also in July now in copper too. And you see that's going to go into the weekly sell. It's been in the daily sell since, let's steal that one. It's been in the daily sell since right there. And so, and that goes right there. And then let's steal that green one too. Put that there. So it's been not in the best of shape. It was a good break with it underneath. The fast was in a weekly sell already. If you're trading options, you can take that trade. If you're trading hard silver itself, I would not do that until the slow joins in. What else can we say? Then from there we go over to platinum. See what the platinum is. Platinum was trying to bounce back the last couple of days, or at least today. Platinum is usually a good guide to the whole marketplace when it comes to metals. Obviously the ratio is nothing what it used to be. So you can see here the platinum is still in a weekly buy like gold and silver, and it's been in that daily sell since here, and it just hasn't lifted up enough. It's tried lifting, but it just hasn't. We'll see how they play that going into next week. And then from there we slide over to the energy sector again, and there's the September oil. You see it's pressing down. Back months are falling further than the front month. Front month is, let's throw a front month up on J4X right there. And let me see. There's the front month. It's trading at 74.23. You can see the back month is almost like 80 some odd cents underneath it. 85 cents, 84 cents. And daily sell for 3 days, or 2 days. I'm sorry. That should be over one. There we are. It's been in the sell since yesterday. Went into the weekly sell last week, so you can't be long for any of this action on the upside. Just you can only play the short side. And what else can we say about that? I guess that's about it there. This is a fast-moving stochastic we're following here. It's the 3. And so then from there we go over to nat gas. You know what, dude? Let me do this. Let's put Brent up there too. Let's take a look at Brent. Last I saw Brent, it was like in the 76 area, maybe? 77, there it is. 77.62, about a $3 discount to the light crude in the United States. And you can see that's doing the same thing. It's been in a downwardly trend. There's been pressure on the product. It doesn't have, as much as we're coming on to the driving season in the United States, we're not really seeing a lot of strength in the product. Just slow, steady firmness, I guess you could call it. You can see overall it's been choppy, and trying to work its way down more than anything else. But choppy more. That low is really fascinating. I guess that's the big low right there. Same one. They gave it a charge down into the 64s. And then we go over to natural gas right here. There's natural gas. It's actually up now for the day, but we're still in the daily sell from yesterday. And this morning it was pushing down pretty good there, and that's the June contract now. And you can see our weekly's been in a sell since here, and it's gone down, and it's tried to lift up with that daily buy, and it didn't get into the weekly buy. It got close. We thought it was really going to take off, but it did not take off. And I know you, Metho, out there are just waiting for the next opportunity to buy. Your lower number. 1.7 is it, or something like that? I think that's what it is. All right, from there, we go to, let's see, what's that? That's the, oh yes, all right. So that's the natural gas. We put the natural gas up on J4X, right? Right there. You see that trading at $2.31. Basically, that's what it comes down to. It's not. And in Europe, it's trading at like $27 or $28 a cubic foot. Here in the States, it's trading at $2 a cubic foot. So from there, we go the last of the energy that we look at. Yeah, 1.7. Yeah. Let's see from here. See, I listen. I listen, Mathos. See, I do. I listen. Let's see. Okay, so then from there, we look at the Spanish company, which is trading in the 28s, which it represents basically what they pay a cubic foot. And there it is right there, 28.04. It's been moving down from the high 28s to the low, but it's still 28 compared to $2 in the States. So that's pretty freaky. Pretty freaky. Freaky deaky. Yes, I'm a good listener. And so that's going to fill in right there, as you can see. And that's the name of that tune, basically. That's the commodity side of this. And then what we'll do is we'll take a look at the stock indices and the crypto, and then we call it a day. So, matter of fact, when thinking about it today, I'm going to have a sip of tea and talk out loud a little bit, and that is, what did we really focus in on today? Liquidity of the dollar, maybe? And try to come up with a title that matches, a genuine discussion. What we discussed. So I guess we could say King Dollar versus King Peso. I don't know. Something like that. We'll have to try something like that. All right. From there, we're going to move over to the stock indices, and we'll take a look at the S&P 500. Right there. And I know yesterday I wanted to talk about, since it looks like we have about 3 or 4 minutes, I can talk about what I wanted to talk about yesterday when we do the stock indices. We'll look at the Tech 100. And I want to look at the Tech 100 and the what do you call it? The Russell 2000. Now there's the S&P 500. You can see it's trying to bounce up, but it's been in a daily sell from close to the 4,200 area. We've gotten down to about 4,270 and change, or 68, was it? Yeah, 68.75. And so almost bought 69 and change. That was pretty cool. And then almost is the key word there. And then you can see here the weekly is still holding up, even with this being Thursday. The fast is still holding the zero line. It's underneath the manifold, but it's still holding on. And you can see here, same situation. The S&Ps are doing their best to trade in that area. It's getting trapped in that range. You can see we're down there towards the bottom. Tomorrow's numbers should have an effect. We'll see. Then from there we go over to the Tech 100. Now Tech 100, you know what? Let's do the Russell. The Russell 2000 is what the Tech 100 used to be. Now it's grown. It's legitimate in the sense of they have the top 100 are some of the most biggest and powerful companies in the world. 6 or 7 of them, I think 7 of them are in the Dow Jones Industrial Average. So 23 New York Stock Exchange stocks are in the Dow, and I think 7 of the Tech 100s are in there now. And Amgen is probably, there's one, it's sales, and then the other one I think is not sure what else is it. Then the rest are techs, like Cisco Systems, Intel. Let's get this up on there. Right there. There it is. And that is the Tech 100. And it looks like it's trying to go after the lows of the last couple months. Right there. Let's scrunch that up a little bit more. Yeah. You can see all the way back to December of last year. The product is made a low there. We thought it was starting to take off. We thought that looked like a reverse head and shoulders. We thought, as this was battling, and then in the last 7 days, it's rolled over again. Now, like I said, the NASDAQ 100, or the Tech 100, used to be what the Russell is today. So when you're laughing at me, I laugh at me too. I do. I laugh. I do laugh at me. I'm totally serious. I take a lot of things relaxed. Where am I at? Oh yes. So the Tech 100, not the Tech 100. What the Russell 2000 is trying to tell us. The Russell 2000 is trying to tell us that money is not comfortable with speculation at the moment. That's what it's telling us. So in other words, they're not trying to buy forward. They're just keeping their portfolios kind of neutral. That's what that's all about. So I think tomorrow we'll try to get some time to have a deeper conversation about this. I need to get out of here. The market opens in 3 minutes. So, but we'll go after this again tomorrow, and I'll have to come up with a currency title for today. So tomorrow's TGIF. Thank goodness it's Friday. Then we will catch you all on the flip side. So happy trails to you until we meet again, which will be Friday. Happy trails to you, to all our trading friends. Later, traders. Have a safe and smart trading day. Ta-ta for now. Arrivederci.